Hi. Welcome to another movie plot. Spoilers ahead. United States Army Ranger Cameron is honorably discharged from duty and returns home to his pregnant wife Tricia. After a big night on the drinks and celebration, Cameron is forced to defend her from an aggressive patron. Breaking the pisshead's nose into his brain, the drunk dies, and Cameron is found guilty of manslaughter and receives a sentence of 7 to 10 years by a biased judge. During his time incarcerated, he communicates with his wife and daughter through letters while taking time to better himself physically. 8 years later, and Poe is finally released on parole, and is scheduled to be flown back to Alabama on the same day as his daughter Casey's 7th birthday. Poe is arranged for transport on the Jailbird, a C-123 airplane, along with a fellow prisoner and friend Mike Baby O. Odell. This prison transfer flight is also being used by U.S. Marshal Vince Larkin to transport a number of notorious violent criminals to a new supermax prison. These include William Billy Bedlam Bedford, a man convicted of murdering his wife's entire family after he caught her in bed with another man. Nathan Diamond Dog Jones, a supremacist who bombed an NRA meeting. Johnny 23 Baca, a serial rapist.
Call me Johnny 600 if they knew the truth.
Joe Pinball Parker. And perhaps the most violent criminal in the prison system, Cyrus the Virus Grissom, who served time for kidnapping, robbery, murder, and extortion, escaped from prison twice, and likes to brag that he's killed more men than cancer. Prior to takeoff, Larkin is approached by DEA agent Duncan Malloy asking to put his undercover agent Willie Sims on board the plane, hoping to get more information out of drug lord Francisco Cindino before he is incarcerated in the new prison. Larkin insists the agent goes aboard unarmed for his own safety, but after agreeing to these demands, Malloy is able to sneak Sims a gun during the boarding pat-down. Everyone is secured to their seats, but shortly after the flight takes off, Jones and Grissom are able to free themselves with the help of a distraction by Pinball Parker, who regurgitates some fuel and a match to set the inmate next to him on fire. The prisoners quickly overpower and subdue the unarmed guards, and Cyrus heads straight to the cockpit and quickly kills the co-pilot who came out to settle the riot with the only known gun on board. Cyrus seizes the co-pilot's pistol, then quickly takes control of the cockpit to prevent the pilot from reporting the incident, and tells the next control center that everything is fine.
Welcome to Con Air.
As Pinball is uncuffing the prisoner, Sims attempts to threaten Grissom with Pinball as his hostage, so Poe attempts to talk the agent out of it to try and save his life. Sims' demands are ignored though, and he is killed despite Poe's efforts. As Cyrus organizes the other prisoners to prepare for a scheduled landing in Carson City, Pinball informs Cyrus that some of the prisoners that were scheduled to get off were actually killed during the takeover, so they need some replacements. Poe initially decides to get off, hoping to expose the takeover, but reconsiders when he discovers that they are placing tape over their mouths and he won't be able to get a word off, so the pilot is transferred off in his place. His main reason for staying is that Odell is a diabetic and the injection needles for his insulin were damaged in the commotion, so he needs a way to help him find a replacement. Also, Johnny 23 is looking to have his way with the only female guard on the plane, Sally Bishop, despite the fact that Cyrus has threatened to kill Johnny if he attempts to do it.
You know what I am? Ugly all day.
Poe spots a recording device on Sims' body and transfers it to one of the guards, hoping it would be seen by a guard and attract attention. Upon landing to refuel and picking up more prisoners to take them to their freedom, we meet the new prisoners boarding, drug lord Francisco Cindino, their new pilot Swamp Thing Williams, and cannibal serial killer Garland Green, who once drove through 3 states wearing a girl's head as a hat. Grissom instructs Pinball to hide the plane's transponder in another smaller aircraft, and despite Poe's efforts to get word out to the other guards, the plane leaves Carson City without problems. Even though the guards on the bus discover the true identity of the prisoners, but backup arrives too late because Cyrus spotted their vehicles approaching the runway. Around this time, Larkin discovers the plans for the plane's takeover in a hidden compartment in the wall of Cyrus's old cell, and when one of the guards opens a small cigar box that has a bomb hidden inside it, he narrowly avoids getting killed. After Larkin and Malloy discover what happened aboard the plane, with Poe having a chance to get off in Carson City but refusing, Larkin suspects that Poe is on the convict's side. Against Larkin's advice, Malloy immediately takes off in an attack chopper to follow the plane's transponder, which unknown to him was snuck aboard the sightseeing plane. Poe and Jones go into the hull to determine the cause of the plane's slow speed, and find that Pinball's body is lodged in the landing wheel compartment, having tripped under a tire during takeoff. Poe takes the opportunity to write a message on Parker's shirt to Larkin before Jones has a chance to notice, and pushes the body out of the plane where it falls 10,000 feet straight into the middle of traffic in Fresno, California. Larkin decides to have a meeting with Tricia and Casey to determine why Poe chose to stay on the plane, when a call comes in from Fresno police to alert him of the body, and Larkin is made aware of the message. Larkin recognizes that the prisoner's plane is headed in the opposite direction to Lerner Airfield, but unable to convince the stubborn Malloy of this information over the radio, he borrows Malloy's Corvette to make it to the airfield before the plane can land, while also calling in the National Guard and other forces to help secure the area. Back aboard the plane, Bedford discovers Poe's parole letter and the personal belongings in the hull.
Put the bunny back in the box.
So he tries to go at the former ranger but is quickly killed.
Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
Poe learns from Grissom that Cindino is promising that once they land at Lerner, another plane will be waiting there for them to transfer into. The convict's plane lands at the airfield, almost crashing into a propane tank. But no other plane seems to be waiting for them. While the rest of the prisoners are forced by Grissom to dig out the plane, Poe explores the field to try to find an injection needle for Odell's insulin, who has started going into diabetic shock. Larkin happens upon the plane that Cindino promised, finding that Cindino has double-crossed Grissom and is trying to flee on his own. Larkin then helps to rescue Poe from Cindino's henchmen, who are there waiting for their boss. The two of them briefly meet and discuss the situation, before Poe starts to convince him of his innocence in the matter and leaves to find a needle for Odell. Cindino slips away from the other prisoners to board his plane and tries to take off down the airfield in front of everyone. But Larkin is able to use a crane to disable the plane, and the crash alerts Grissom to the little rat's betrayal, so he throws a lit match at the fuel leaking from Cindino's plane, starting a fire, and burning Cindino alive. The prisoners observe that armed forces are advancing on the field, and upon Cyrus discovering the small arsenal hidden in the bottom of the plane, along with Bedford's body, they set up an ambush for the forces. Larkin goes off to help stop the troops from being massacred by reactivating an old unused plow, using it to create a makeshift bulletproof shield to drive in front of the men. After Poe finds an injection needle in a first aid box, he returns to the plane to give Odell his insulin, and manages to stop Johnny from having his way with Bishop, who was left alone with him. As the troops begin to defeat the cons and overrun the trap, Grissom and the remaining prisoners return to the plane and begin to take off, before Poe could escape with Odell and Bishop. Grissom soon discovers Poe's true identity after Jones finds Poe's parole letter in his luggage. And after Odell tries to take the blame for being the saboteur, he is shot in the stomach by Cyrus. The virus prepares to kill Poe.
Make a move and the bunny gets it.
But Malloy, having encountered the sightseeing plane and finally decided to listen to Larkin, tracked down the jailbird. He has his helicopter pilot open fire on Grissom and disables one of the engines, causing the plane to lose fuel and begin to go down.
I'm gonna show you God does exist.
After some hand-to-hand combat with prisoners blocking his path to the cockpit, Poe gains control of the plane from Swamp Thing and orders Malloy not to fire, which Larkin agrees. Attempting to land the aircraft at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas, the crippled jailbird is forced to crash land on the strip. The landing causes injuries and fatalities among many of the inmates, while also causing massive destruction along the strip until it comes to a halt in the lobby of the Sands Hotel. Amid the chaos, Poe is thanked by both Odell and Bishop for his help, as the police arrest the surviving prisoners as they come off the plane. Slipping out the bottom of the plane, Grissom, Jones, and Swamp Thing all escape on a city fire truck. But Larkin and Poe manage to both see them trying to flee in the distance, and both pursue them on police motorcycles. Poe rides straight into the back of the truck and Jones is hit by the motorbike, dying. Swamp Thing flies through the windshield on impact with a car, also dying. Cyrus, having been beaten by Poe in a hand-to-hand fight, is handcuffed to the fire ladder and sent flying through the air after the truck crashes, leaving a crippled Cyrus to be crushed by a pile driver in a nearby construction site. Poe is finally able to reunite with his loving wife and meet his daughter for the first time ever, who has been brought by Larkin to the danger zone. A dealer at a table in a Vegas casino asks a new shooter if he feels lucky, before he is shown to be Garland Green. And the movie ends. Con Air is a 1997 action film starring Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, John Malkovich, Steve Buscemi, Ving Rhames, Cole Meany, Michael T. Williamson, Dave Chappelle, Danny Trejo, and much more. This, Face Off, and The Rock are considered by many to be Nicolas Cage's holy trinity of action films. For this, Nicolas Cage also traveled to Alabama to work on his accent.
Dear Hummingbird, break out the fine china, chill the lemonade, tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree, 'cause this boy's coming home to his ladies, coming home forever.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.